it's just the Paul and James extravaganza bonanza.
Yeah, you could say that. And,
Hey, it's
yeah.
pretty fucking dope, alright? Anybody who says otherwise is wrong.
Go on.
That's it. There's no follow-up. Anybody who says otherwise is wrong. And if they try to say otherwise, we silence them in the manner to which we're most accustomed.
Great. I look forward to that.
Be it with louder voices, or a two-handed flail, or a one-handed flail. I'm sure there's a fourth way.
That's the dreaded three-handed flail.
Oh man, yeah, that's the co-op mop chop.
Pretty awkward to handle. The three-hander.
Yeah, well, I mean, you and a buddy have to be in perfect synchronized swimmer style unison, so you can smote your enemies upside the fucking head with this, like, compact car of a melee weapon.
So you still have Dragon Quest on the brain?
Strictly speaking, I could, although I haven't. I've been, like, away for, like, the last 2 weekends.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to a fucking cabin the weekend before the last one to read and watch Netflix and do nothing. And then the last weekend I went to a wedding in Fernie, which...
Oh, Fernie. Fernie.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous tourist trap that looks like somebody just hung a bunch of fucking high-quality matte paintings on every horizon, wherever you look.
Yeah, exactly. You know, for a guy who's not available to be on a podcast, Trevor sure is online right now.
That punk motherfucker. Well, it's a yellow dot as opposed to a green dot, which means he just leaves his computer on all day, or like something.
Yeah, he's yellow dot on Discord, but he just posted in team chat.
That filthy bitch.
I bet that felt really good to say. That filthy bitch.
Yeah, it's got all the right syllables, man.
Yep. Filth, the letter Y, and a curse.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Like the second or third best one, depending on your preferences.
You really could throw a filthy in front of a lot of curse words.
It's kind of an assault on a person's hygiene, on their social standing, and just on their character. It's a triple threat.
It's like when when you were a kid and you'd call somebody a big fat idiot, or a big fat moron.
Oh yeah.
You remove the big, and it sounds infinitely more devastating. You're a fat idiot.
It's like fucking unsheathing a sword. Or like when they go from hitting me with the flat of the blade to then they flip it around and just like you're gonna be collecting your intestines in a little bike basket. It's gonna be so bad.
It's like when you flip the sword around and you hold the blade and just whack them with the handle. Just club them.
That's right, you fucker. You don't deserve the fucking pointy bit.
Exactly. So, we want to address the news and stuff this week? And do all that stuff and talk about releases and whatever?
We can. We can also just talk about Dragon Quest and Spider-Man for an hour.
That'll probably consume the entirety of our time.
Yeah, we can definitely expectorate on a lot of that.
Great word.
Oh yeah.
Criminally underused.
I was listening to the Beauty and the Beast soundtrack. And he was all like, I'm especially good at expectorating. Beautiful.
Every good podcast begins with somebody saying, so I was listening to the Beauty and the Beast soundtrack. It's just uphill from there.
Oh yeah, it only gets better.
Oh boy. Well, I'm not even gonna formalize this. I'm just gonna say, hey everybody, welcome to Press X, the podcast, where James and I have been bantering for the last 5 minutes, and we're just gonna keep going. We're not gonna start something new or something fresh. We're just gonna keep going. So it's the Paul and James show this week, and because everybody else better things to do, or as James so eloquently put it, they are filthy bitches.
I think both options have equal validity.
You could do both.
Yeah.
Truly, you could. So this week, we got a couple of humongous releases dropping, hitting the earth, creating enormous craters, and I think that's what we're going to do, is we're going to talk about those things.
That's an amazing plan. Well, as best as I understand, you are the Spider-Man for the COGconnected crew, and I am the Dragon Quester. And so between the two of us, we've put many, many hours into two pretty enormous games.
Yes, we did. Can I get an estimate of your hour count?
I think just for getting up to the point it needed to be for the review and capturing footage, easily somewhere in the 40-hour mark. And not done. It's very long.
Yeah. That's one of those series where they know their audience, and they know that you're looking to spend triple-digit hours, so there's literally something in every single pot, under every plant, behind every doorway.
Yeah, well, you know, the tricky bastards, it's not every single pot. It's like 2/3 of them. So you go into every town and you're like, okay, time to burglarize everybody's fucking houses and rifle through their shit. Well, you know, they're basically just standing there watching you. And half the time it's nothing, but half the time it's their clothes or some food or some money or a healing item. Good.
That might be my favorite thing in JRPGs generally, is that people just let you take their shit. They don't care.
I like to think that they're all paralyzed with fear that somebody's so brazenly burglaring their house. Like they're just standing there quivering like, I want to say something, but he's armed. He clearly has a very large sword. What do I do?
Is this asshole? Is that... He's looking in my drawers. What the fuck?
It's great when you find like an actual pair of boxer shorts, which can happen in Dragon Quest games. It's just like, hey, it's some lingerie and some underwear, and like, oh, it's awesome.
And I'm taking them. You can't stop me.
Yeah, good luck. Do what you will, you fucking losers.
So I am not someone who ever really has gotten into the Dragon Quest series. I played, I want to say, 8 on the DS. Maybe 8?
I believe you're thinking of 9 was the big DS release.
That's the one. Yeah, I played that one, but outside of that, I haven't really ever gotten into the series. But this one looks pretty rad.
Yeah, it's the most Dragon Quest of any of the releases in like the last decade, easy. There's a massive cast of characters. There's a huge world to cover. A suitably epic story. You start the game the way you've started every fucking Dragon Quest game in the history of the franchise, by beating up some blue slimes. And I can't begin to describe how good that feels for some reason, especially when you played a bunch of these in the past, or you played the original one on the NES, and then the Game Boy Color, and on the PS1, and everything else. And once again, one more time, you're fighting that slime, and it's like the whole aggregate of your fucking slime bashing experiences rests upon your shoulders, and it's like that first encounter has such gravitas. I don't know.
Well, those bastards don't learn their lesson. They have kept coming back for 11 installments at this point. Like, go somewhere else, Blue Slimes. Maybe not right outside the first town in the first encounter. Relocate yourselves, and maybe you avoid being devastated by the heroes of yore every single time.
It's possible that they have been migrating, and that every time they do, they accidentally end up outside the home of another chosen hero.
The one surviving slime that moves on just passes on the tale of great grandpappy slime who was smote by a 1, 2, or 3-handed flail right outside his grandfather's home.
Yeah, some impetuous teenage boy with a wooden sword was just like killing one after the other for what seemed like no reason, you monster.
He needed those coins. They were not going to, his pockets were not going to fill themselves.
Yeah, that bamboo sword's a lot of money.
So, is this game actually good? I see that you have given it a score of 80.
Correct.
Where does this sit in the pantheon of Dragon Quest games?
It's kind of hard to say. 9 had a kind of special place in my heart because it messed with some of the... Well, it didn't mess with them, but it returned to certain ideas that previous titles have done, but only a little bit better. So basically, there's like 2 different kinds of Dragon Quest games you're going to get with each entry. There's the ones where you end up with like a bunch of customizable characters that you just like pick the class of and mess with however you like, and you get to set your party up however you want. But they're all pretty faceless, right? They don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And the other kind of Dragon Quest game is the one where you have a set cast of like very well-defined, well-written characters who are locked into a particular skill tree. So you get less customization, less choice, but you generally get a more interesting story. And Dragon Quest XI falls into that second category. So it's definitely the best of that bunch. But I do really love character creation, and the job system in the Dragon Quest franchise is actually really robust and really well realized, and it's a real damn shame it's not in this entry.
Well, that's too bad.
I feel like it kind of rotates, although I mean, I don't know. There's almost an equal amount either way of like games where you either have faceless cardboard cutouts that are highly customizable and like the crafted story. And honestly, it has its own strengths in that regard. There's certain characters in this one that I absolutely love and adore and can't get enough of, and will like sit through every one of their cutscenes just so I can listen to them talk and watch them, gesture and be crazy, right? And certain accents they do really well, so it's really fun to watch those.
I feel like you're a bit of a connoisseur of accents in role-playing games. You have been a little critical of accents in the past.
Well, it's just that for one, they're not often attempted. Generally, it's just they have like a voice cast that they hired from California or Vancouver or third place, but I mean, where would that even be? So you just generally get either the straight Japanese voices or the like bland, inoffensive, broadly appealing English cast. And it's pretty rare that you get them going in any other direction. Like Xenoblade is also pretty famous for having like characters with accents, and they actually did a pretty good job of that in the last one. Dragon Quest XI has a lot of great voices. They also try to do Italian, which they do not succeed at. It's like if they taught Italian in high school, and then they got those high school students to write a play, but instead of doing it in Italian, they do it in English with an accent, with random words in the other language just peppered in for flavor. And it's slow and laborious, and it has me just like mashing the X button as hard as I can to get through these scenes because they're so awful. But their British accent, their like Cockney accent, is fucking awesome. The way it's written, the way it's acted out, it's so good. And like their Scottish is serviceable, but it's always serviceable. I think they do a kind of like non-specific kind of like Spanish or whatever that's like, it's not bad, it's not the worst. Italian was pretty offensive though.
Compare the Italian accent for me to the Forest Hunter accent from Octopath Traveler.
Slightly better.
Oh, jeez.
It is better because the Forest Hunter accent in Octopath Traveler, one of the reasons it bothers us so much to hear it is that it's all grammatically incorrect. Basically, what the writers did was that they tried to make it sound old school, but they did a really shitty job of it. So they put suffixes and prefixes on words that don't belong there.
Mm-hmm.
And you might not know the rules by rote where you can recite them, but you know when it's wrong. Like you can hear it and you can see it. And they just created this like fake accent that is like nails on a chalkboard.
And that Hunter character is awesome. But I had to remove her from my party on a long-term basis because that accent is just offensive. In every battle, you know, oh God.
Hey, quick 3-minute aside, unrelated to the two huge games we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had time to progress to the bit of Octopath Traveler that's after the 8 stories?
I have not. Sadly, I'd like to.
Okay. I'm going to give you a short preview.
Okay.
Just with a few words.
Mm-hmm.
Protracted, awful, horrendous fucking headache. Like the hardest boss fight, harder than all of the boss fights leading up to it put together. I have not finished it. I have tried it twice. I'm probably going to try a third time tonight. I have very low expectations for success. My average level is about 71.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fair bit of grinding you've done there, young James.
Yeah, I'm about the 85-hour mark in Octopath Traveler because it mechanically checks all the boxes on my checklist.
Yeah, it's great. I wish I had more time to play it, but I mean, that train of games that are coming out and requiring coverage is never ending.
Oh, and yeah, September's...
they keep latching cars to the back of the train, and the engine is struggling to keep up, but they keep latching the cars. And, I mean, we keep putting out content, so we're doing okay so far.
I think so. So, yeah, that little aside, just, get ready for that fun shit. So accents in Dragon Quest XI, kind of a mixed bag. Maybe the Italian will sound better to other people. But the Cockney is great.
Is the Italian accent better than Mario's accent?
No. Because Mario doesn't just throw in an Italian word every sentence or two just to make it seem like he's like really authentic. And his accent and his speech isn't this like slow, laborious, like surgical process where it's like, it's a me, Mario, molto bene. And you're like, oh, dude, could you just anytime now?
Please, God, stop.
Yeah, wrap it up. Come on, man.
Okay, so the accents, mixed bag, the gameplay. Tell me more about combat. Turn-based, correct?
Correct. Essentially, it's an evolution of every game in the series up to this point. There's special abilities that you unlock pretty quickly. And it's one of those great RPGs where you're expected to use your specials all the time. And you can, actually. Like, I know sometimes it's like, oh, well, the magic points are pretty costly. It's going to be a whole thing. I don't know if you're going to be able to manage, but I can pretty much bust out special moves like every 2 or 3 times a battle, every battle with every character, or just be using magic with my healers more or less constantly. And people either gain levels, or you get to campfires, or you get items to the point where you can just keep that train going. And that's pretty awesome. There's pet powers that I don't give a shit about, because they shot themselves in the foot, basically. What they did was you're pepped up. You're in pep mode. So that means a bunch of your stats are better, right? So if 2 or more people are pepped up, then they can do super moves together. But they suck. I mean, they're okay, but they're not that great. But you know what is great? Having pepped up stats. So what you just do is you get pepped up and you just play like normal, because your attacks are better. You never use the moves. And it's like, oh wow, that was kind of a waste.
That sounds suspiciously like it was not thought through very well, or at least not well balanced.
I think the idea is that the moves, I don't know. I think if you experiment, you can find certain combos where you might be able to find certain moves that are really banging. But the problem is, getting into pepped up mode isn't reliable. Like, it just happens. And so it's kind of hard to like I think it's like you take enough damage or you do enough damage or one of those things. It's like limit breaks in fucking old Final Fantasy games. It just pops up and you're like, well, I guess I got to do something with this. But you can keep it from battle to battle. You'll just be pepped up for a certain amount of turns, and that those amounts of turns carry over from fight to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's not super reliable knowing when it's going to activate. Like, I think if they really wanted to get people to use those powers, they'd have like a little meter or something, like on the character portrait that's like, oh shit, pep time. Which, now that I'm saying it and I haven't played it in like a week, that might be a thing. Like, that might be something I just didn't even see. But regardless, right? Like, yeah. I'm thinking, I'm like, oh shit, is there a pep meter? I don't think there's a pep meter. I feel like they would have said something about a pep meter in the tutorial, you know, when they first start. They're like, watch your pep meter. When it gets full, you're pepped up. Instead, they're just like, hey, you take some hits and then it's pep town.
Would it be safe to say this game has a busy UI?
Hell no. It's very simple and clean, man.
Oh, all right. Well, so if there is a pep meter, you're going to feel incredibly silly for not noticing it.
Yeah. If there was one and they just didn't mention it and I didn't see it, that would make me an actual blind person. Legally, I could get a card or something or get tested. But yeah, I just never used the moves. It wasn't reliable when they popped up, and so I just took the boost when I got it and kind of rolled on. Another thing about the combat, I've said this twice now in my tips and tricks review and in the actual game review, and I'm going to say it one more time here. If you've ever played a Dragon Quest game before in your life, or if you're a person who fancies himself a regular, habitual RPG player, when you start Dragon Quest XI, turn on Draconian Quest. Just fucking do it. You're going to say, I don't know if I can handle Dragon Quest XI on hard mode. No. Turn it on. Okay? Because I didn't. And that game is so easy now. There's a thing you can do in a lot of Dragon Quest games, and this is no exception, where you can go under tactics in the menu. And you can say follow orders, which means you control the character. Or you can pick another option like fight wisely, you go crazy with spells, focus on healing, defend, that sort of shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I turned on fight wisely for the whole party, protagonist included, and just never manually fought a battle again. There's a point towards the end of my capture footage where you stop seeing menus pop up in combat. You'll just see one where it's like start combat, and then that's it. because I never had to turn it off. I figured, hey, this is cool. They can just kind of fight for me while I'm like exploring dungeons or trying to, if I'm lost, I can just figure out where I'm going and not worry about that. And I thought, oh, I got to a boss and I was like, okay, shit, I should turn that off. And the little voice was like, don't. See what happens. And yeah, I've never lost a boss fight or had to interfere or like step in. They just kind of like handle it for me because I got lost once or twice. I over-leveled, and that's it. The game is playing itself from here until the end, unless it gets really hard, like a certain amount of time after the halfway point. Because like I was allowed to capture footage up to this very important halfway point, and then they're like, no, stop, no more no story spoilers. Even today, I feel weird talking about it. But there's a big event, and the game gets harder, presumably, except it doesn't. Because if you were leveling up or grinding or just doing all the things you're supposed to be doing, like crafting and like making your gear stronger and like doing side quests, you can just turn it to auto battle and you're fine. Unless you put on Draconian Quest, which I'm telling everybody, fucking do it.
To be fair, you did pick the option that said fight wisely, and you're not losing any battles, which I would consider pretty wise.
You know what? That's a fair point. But, counterpoint, when you, in any other game, when you put somebody on auto battle, like in the Etrian Odyssey series, there's an auto battler. But if you space out and let that fucker run, you will die.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will get distracted or look up and be like, oh man, hey, what's that over there? And you turn back around and your party's been wiped by a random encounter. There's lots of games where you can do that, but it's like, oh, do it at your own risk. And like Final Fantasy 12, for example, auto battling is being able to do that is your reward for perfectly setting up your characters. With Dragon Quest XI, when you play it on normal mode, it's like a long, protracted punishment for not turning on hard mode. And I found out that Draconian Quest is exclusively a North American thing. At first, I was like really impressed. I was like, oh, they gave us a hard mode. Now I realize that the hard mode was probably just the mode in Japan, and they're fucking with us again.
Yeah, they had to give those dumb Americans the easy mode.
Man, they gave me a big fucking review booklet, and I really wish they'd like write in there, but like, hey, if you've played RPGs in your life ever, turn this on, and I would have done it.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a PR misstep, if I'm being honest. That pretty much all PR people, when you get a review copy of a game, if there's something that you desperately need to know as either a fan of the series, a fan of games, a fan of the genre, anything like that, they usually put it in big bold text right at the front and say, hey, dummy, you should do this thing before you start.
I don't think they knew.
That's entirely possible, too.
I don't think they realized what it was, like what the implications were.
Draconian? What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, because like, because I was under the impression that I was being given a choice for hard mode. I was like, whoa, man, I've turned on hard mode in games before. That shit is not for me. I'm decent at games. I'm not amazing. I don't want this to be a merciless fucking slog. But instead, it seems like it's the way to go if you're like a guy who obsessively plays these games, like I am.
I would like to point out how fantastic the VO is in your Dragon Quest XI tips and tricks video. It is excellent. It was like I was sitting on a couch having a delicious scotch with you. Delicious scotch, or possibly 4 or 5.
Yeah, it really has that sound to it, doesn't it?
Sure does.
It's gonna sound like old Uncle James had a couple too many drinks, and he has some shit to say that you got to listen to. It's real important. Yeah, I'm very happy with that voiceover style. I'm thinking I'm going to be using that more in the future, depending on the kind of video.
Yeah, I think that is well worth the effort, especially if you start calling yourself Uncle James.
Uncle James's tips and tricks to win at all your video games.
Well, fantastic. Dragon Quest XI, it comes out as of this podcast coming out. It came out yesterday, September 4th.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's out. It's in the world. Find it. Capture it. Get it in a headlock. Drag it back to your house.
The elusive age echoes from coast to coast in Dragon Quest XI.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Paul.
James.
Dear God, you were the Spider-Man for COGconnected. We've all
yes.
been waiting with
Oh my
bated
God.
breath.
Oh my God. I've had it for about 2.5 weeks, and I've not been able to say a damn word about it to anybody. And that has been terrifying, being locked up with my own thoughts for that long about something, especially a game that is this fantastic, and I can't tell anyone. But now I can tell everyone. And I told everyone on COGconnected.com. That's COGconnected on Twitter, COGconnected on Facebook, COGconnected on Instagram, COGconnected on the YouTubes, COGconnected everywhere that you could possibly want to go or be ever in your life. I am a company-ish sort of man.
Oh, bravo, bravo. Oh, yes. Paul, bring it home. Sliding in. Oh, so good. Okay.
But anyways, I wrote a review of Spider-Man, and it is 1,500 words that I had to work really hard to pack what I wanted to say into that amount of words. Because Spider-Man is fucking fantastic. It is amazing. It is COGconnected's 8th 100 score of all time. And it is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, top to bottom.
I appreciate COG's review system in that it doesn't necessarily equate 100% with total Nirvana-style perfection. Rather, it's like, it would be difficult, if not impossible, for this game to be any better than it is.
Right. Because it's not a perfect game. It's definitely not a perfect game, and plenty of reviews have pointed out some of the things that you might say are wrong with it. But for whatever reason, when I was playing it, it didn't bother me at all, so I didn't dock any points for those things. Things like the enemy AI is pretty dumb. The guys, when they're not aware of Spider-Man, they're pretty stupid. Their peripheral vision is next to none, and you can just gank fools from light posts till the cows come home. That said, that stuff is very fun. So, shooting a web somewhere and having some idiot go, oh, hey, what's that over there? And then, yanking him up and tying him by his tootsies to the light post. That's fun stuff. And, that's basically one of the only things that actually bothered me at any point during the game. The main thing that people are going to want to know about this game, because it is absolutely integral to a Spider-Man experience, is the web slinging, and it is chef kiss molto bene. Dragon Quest XI Italian accent. It is so delicious. It is so good. New York's a big place. It's about 4 kilometers end to end, something like that. And I never used the fast travel. Next mission is all the way on the other end of town. I was like, fuck yeah. I'm going to swing over there, and it's going to take me like 5 minutes, and it's going to be so much fun on the way there. And I'm probably going to stop a few crimes, and I'm probably going to, find a few collectibles along the way. And my God. Garrett just posted a web slinging video on our YouTube channel. Just posted being Tuesday. And you'll get the sense of what I'm talking about. The web slinging is outstanding. It does not get old ever.
That's really impressive. And I feel like You're right. That's something that fans have considered to be more important almost than any other aspect of a Spider-Man game ever since I think like Spider-Man 2 back in 2004. It was like, listen, is the web slinging good? No, fuck you. Don't even care. Take your Spider-Man game and go home. We don't want it. You know? And yeah, I feel like, not to continuously interrupt, I feel like the enemy AI being a little dumbed down is just a great way making you feel like a superpowered Spider Boy who can just take them all on and kick all their asses all day, sun up to sundown. And I mean, I'm sure bosses are smarter, and that's really where the brains got to be, you know?
Yeah. I mentioned this in the review. There was a lot of hooey and ballyhoo about the QuickTime events as we were running up to the release. People were going, yeah, I don't like QuickTime events. But the way they've implemented it in Spider-Man is totally satisfying. Because it's used pretty sparingly, and when it's used, it is used to make something that would otherwise be a cutscene into an interactive thing. And they're not hard. It's more, a timed button press here, or hammer on the triggers to shoot webs, or, something like that. And it turns the experience of watching Spider-Man into the experience of being Spider-Man more often, which is really good. And you mentioned the boss fights. I didn't actually talk about those in the review at all, but they are all really, really great. They're all super unique, and they were a lot of fun. They were not hard. I wouldn't say this game was hard. It does have a hard mode, which I would be interested in trying. But on the standard difficulty, it's not hard. So it's pretty approachable for pretty much anybody, and you will feel like a superhero.
I think that's pretty important. I mean, the idea that like this is approachable to a major section of the audience, because like a lot of Spider-Man games up to this point have been like some that kids are playing, little kids are playing, and the idea of it having a spectrum of difficulty settings just means that like this can hit as wide of an audience as possible. And between that and the like amazing feel of the web slinging, I think more than anything else, what Insomniac has brought to the table is the experience of being Spider-Man, which is the sort of thing that when it's done well, you remember forever, which is why people still fucking talk about Spider-Man 2 from 2004.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. Yeah, and on the, just to go back to the difficulty thing for a second, within a difficulty level, it is possible to muddle your way through without being super proficient. So if you're not great at web slinging, or your timing isn't that good for launching off of points, or when to release your webs, or whatever is going on, you can still get by. You can get by just fine, and you're still going to have fun. So, and even in the combat, you can kind of mess up your way through things and take a bunch of hits, and you're going to be okay. But if you do take the time to perfect your timing and really string a bunch of moves together, it's nirvana. It is so good. And one of the other things I wanted to talk about is actually the story. That's not something you're typically going to think of as, the story, that's a big tentpole of a superhero game. There's going to be some super villains, and they're going to be trying to do some bad thing, and you're probably going to have to stop them. But the story in this Spider-Man game is really, really resonant, and I think it's because it's not just a story about Spider-Man. It's more... it's equally a story about Peter Parker. And that really helped me to connect to Peter, to Spider-Man, to MJ, to Aunt May, to everybody else who's in the game, in a way that you shouldn't be able to, because it's a superhero scenario.
I think that's a pretty big deal, because the story of Spider-Man is supposed to be the story of Peter Parker, because like that is, if nothing else, the through line in all of the really great movie stories, is the idea of this like young guy, this kid, whatever, trying to like balance his crazy powers and his amazing strength and speed and spiderness with just being a like klutzy, confused fuck up of a teenager who's like messing up relationships or jobs or classes or whatever else, or trying to keep all these balls in the air at the same time. And the like weight of the costume of the alternate identity that sort of impresses itself upon him. And I think a really good Spider-Man story has to take that stuff into account because it's such an integral part of his character.
They to pull out a really obvious pun, they spun Spider-Man and Peter Parker into quite a web. They were intertwined, and at no point in the story were you just Spider-Man or just Peter. Just like in all the comics, all the movies and everything, those two personas are linked in such a deep way that they can't take each other, they can't be split apart in any way. So, man, I want to play through the game again because the story is that good. There are a few points where I am not ashamed to say I got a little choked up because, one, the storytelling is really good, the writing is excellent, but a lot of the performances are really, really moving too. The acting is top notch. It wasn't somebody who I'd ever heard of or had been super aware of before this point playing Spider-Man, that being Yuri Lowenthal, but he does a fantastic job. Really, really good. Yeah. So Spider-Man coming out on the 7th. It's going to sell 1 fucking billion copies, I'm sure of it.
Oh man, I mean, like it sounds like it's going to be a pretty hot seller. It's going to be a big mover as far as systems and games go. I myself, well, my roommate's buying it, so I might just play his copy. But I mean, if it's one of those things where he can't let go of it, or I want time with it, I might just buy it myself. You know, get 2 copies of Spider-Man in the house.
I would argue that you can't have too many copies of Spider-Man in the house. If
that's a fair point.
Yeah, I might just buy a copy to use as a coaster.
Coaster copy?
Yeah. To be clear, I have never done that before, and I probably won't do it. But, you know, what are you going to do? If it happens, it happens.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be exclusively a coaster copy of Spider-Man. It'd be a copy of Spider-Man that could potentially be used as a coaster were the situation to present itself.
True. Yeah. You're convincing me.
Okay.
Do you have any other points that would make this worth my while?
Well, if you were trying to set your phone up on a table to watch things or on a flat surface and it wasn't quite high enough, an extra copy of Spider-Man could be placed under the phone to get it to the appropriate height.
Okay. All right, I think that put me over the top.
Right? Or you could you crack open the case, right, and sort of set it upright and open, and in the slipcover you could put a couple of family photos, and then not only would it be an extra copy of Spider-Man, but you could have mom and dad and the cousins on either side of the slipcover.
Yeah, you could do that. You totally could.
Yeah.
Should we touch on any of the other stuff that's coming out this week? Maybe?
You know, there are other things coming out this week. Hey, one that I want to cover for the site, if we get a copy, is SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy, which is coming out this Friday on the Switch.
That super sounds like a 2D fighting game.
Right?
So I guess it is, right?
Oh yeah. It's for sure a 2D fighting game. Yeah, it's coming out for Switch and PS4. It's just a bunch of like characters from various SNK games, presumably all female because it's called SNK Heroines. And
I'm sitting here racking my brain, and I don't know that I could come up with a full roster of female SNK characters.
Cards on the table, they're not super memorable, which is one of the reasons I'm actually interested in this game, because I want to see if they can make these characters more memorable than they already are. Because you're like, there has to be notable female fighters in these games, just like there's notable male fighters, but none of them come to mind. And I'm wondering if that's going to change after this game comes out.
That's a really good point. Well, I mean, you can never really have too many 2D fighters in your stable.
It's true.
What else do we have? Oh, the Destiny 2 DLC, the Forsaken DLC.
Okay, there's been a crazy amount of news coverage for this DLC up to its release.
Yes, there sure has.
Why? Exactly. Like, is it going to be really, really big? Like, is it going to be like a massive 20, 30, 15-hour campaign? Is it going to like completely change the mechanics? Is it going to like what is it going to do to justify all this hype that's been generated on its behalf?
It's probably going to do none of those things, but you can use a bow.
Okay. That's actually a stronger selling point than I was anticipating.
Mm-hmm. It seems to be. But the enemies seem like they're basically palette swaps. Like 8-bit style. Now they are ice bad guys kind of thing. And I don't think there's any new areas.
Oh, that's not great. And it was like, and they renounced it, or they had put out like trailers for it and stuff, where the one Cade or River is like the one character has been murdered, and it's a whole big thing, and they're like trying to introduce all this like gravity and like weight, and be like, oh, it's a big huge deal, and like it is more of the loot grindy Skinner box type shit that you've been feeding us piecemeal since the first game. What are you doing to change up your strategy? Like I know there's probably people even on our team who are big Destiny acolytes, and I invite each and every one of them to convince me that this is more than a first-person shooter slot machine setup,
You want to hear some real bullshit about this?
Yes, please.
I have 2 points. Point 1 is that Cade character, the robot face guy who gets shot in the trailer, that used to be Nathan Fillion. And now it's just Nolan North. That's some fucking bullshit.
That dude is the fucking Borg of like voice work.
Resistance is futile.
Yeah, it's all going to be Nolan North eventually. He's just going to be like, every fucking studio is just going to have like cables fed into this one booth where he's recording all the lines simultaneously.
But his mouth isn't moving.
Yeah. They're going to like create this like North Nexus 6 interface with all these fucking wires and stuff running into his brain, and be like, we need that sexy voice, but we don't really need the rest of you. And he's going to be this crazy cybernetic organism, and holy fuck, I want this to be a real thing now.
Hold on a sec, I just had to write down North Nexus 6, because that sounds like either the name of our new video game franchise or the title of this episode.
Yeah.
And point 2 of bullshit is more traditional bullshit that usually happens with Destiny, and that is monetary. So for one, you can't play this DLC unless you've bought the other DLC. So you have to have all the DLC or not this DLC at all.
Okay.
And if you were to say be a person who picked up Destiny 2 because it's now free on PS Plus, and then tried to buy this DLC, you'd have to, of course, buy the previous DLC, and then you'd probably use the little boost feature to boost your character up to max level. But if you do that, Destiny 2 does not include the ability to replay story missions. So if you use the boost, you can't go back and play the base game content, and you can't play the DLC for that middle DLC that you just paid for because you wanted the new DLC, but you can never play that DLC. That's some fucking bullshit.
Oh wow! You know, I was going into this story thinking, oh no, same old Activision evil. It's fine, mustache twirling nonsense. Heard it all before. That is fucking sinister. That is way worse than I was anticipating.
That's
just
that's some level 12 Activision, just evil empire, mega corporation, cyberpunk dystopia bullshit.
Just goes to show that no matter what other game company tries to rise up and take the fucking throne, they're never going to be worse than Activision.
No. EA, they tried really fucking hard. But then they decided that, maybe we should release a cool Anthem trailer, and Activision will fuck up a little more, and maybe we won't be so bad anymore.
Yeah, EA could have had the title of the worst game company, but they keep supporting independent developers and making good on their promises to get better, so that's never happening. It's just Activision King of Evil forever. Plus, they're like a fucking hive mind with Blizzard, so yeah, they're thrown a gear.
Well, the Activision cloud is running on North Nexus 5, so there's. I would argue there's a bit of collusion there, actually.
I think that might just be the perfect word for the dealings between these two massive, mountainous gaming entities.
Moving on, NBA Live 19 coming out on the 7th. That is going to be the major competitor for Spider-Man. I'm kidding. It's not going to sell that many copies because it's a much improved basketball game that's still inferior to 2K, probably.
Yeah, I was going to say, sports games tend to do just fine without the need for any advertising or hype. But I mean, it's the lesser of the two basketball franchises. It might be fucked.
Yeah, it's been really bad for a lot of years, but it is better. It is better, and there seems to be quite a bit of groundswell from the community on YouTube. We definitely got a lot of engagement on any NBA Live stuff that we posted over the last few months.
Holy shit, did we ever.
Like, insane levels.
Yeah, like I was just going back, checking out the videos, seeing what the view counts were in various things, on my stuff specifically. And I noticed that like one random NBA game that we captured and uploaded got like 30 times as many views as any individual video that had been posted before or after for months. It's crazy.
It had as many comments as a lot of our videos have views. Which is insane. People are none too happy with the 2K franchise, it seems. But they'll probably buy it anyway and just let Live die on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, that's how it's supposed to be. I think when it comes to sports franchises, especially on consoles, tends to be kind of one big victor. Like, I don't follow this stuff super closely, but I don't remember there being 2 football games at E3.
Correct.
There was one.
Correct.
There was one. So that throne was taken and secured, and its competitors were crushed under various boot heels. And I feel like NBA Live and 2K are trying to kind of do that to each other, only to like everybody watching, it's kind of pretty clear who's in the process of winning.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you got that right.
Yeah, so soon enough, much like the football arm of the sports video game world, there will be just the one yearly basketball game.
So that's the thing. that already kind of happened, and that game was 2K, and then EA thought, we have way too much money, let's try to come back from this. And yeah, they've had a few years that were fucking god-awful video games, and 1 year in there where they couldn't even get the game together to actually release it. Like they just literally could not be released. It was canceled in like the last 2 weeks. Like, this thing's a truck fire and we can't put it out there.
My god.
Which is saying a lot for EA that they couldn't release the game.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah, so this is kind of the underdog story. So I'm rooting for the little guy in live.
Well, yeah, maybe they'll pull through and make the better basketball game, or at least the playable one. I don't know.
Let's hope. I also see on this list, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds on Xbox One. Is it leaving Xbox Early Access?
It must be. I definitely didn't even put that on the monthly list for September because like I don't give a shit if this game is done or like mostly done or whatever. It's just like spinning its fucking tires. Fortnite is the enormous, all-consuming, multi-headed monster that is taking every single one of these battle royale games to fucking town. And like everything I hear about the PUBG Corporation recently rolled out a comprehensive 3 to 4 month plan exclusively dedicated to fixing all their fuck-ups and addressing everything that the fans want in the games.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
their big plan isn't, oh, here's some new content we're rolling out, or, oh, here's the roadmap for expansions. It's, here's what we're going to do for the next entire season to make this into something fucking playable. And, like, meanwhile, Fortnite is just, like, new content. Here's some maps, here's some guns, here's some game modes, here's, like, just dump trucks full of skins. It's just like, guys, you are getting fucking devoured.
Yeah, and they can't stand it. Yeah, but I mean, it's deserved. You put out a shitty game that was broken, and that was a novelty for 8 or 9 months, and you know, you had a good run. But you've now fallen behind a superior development team in Epic who took your idea and made it better. Like, sorry. Too bad.
Basically.
See you guys. But yes, PUBG is now in version 1.0 on Xbox. So it is technically released.
Okay,
and
all right.
We should probably technically review it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
somebody else besides me.
Yeah, no, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. Let's, I feel like maybe an Alex Everett would be on board with that.
Hey, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right, AE. Hope you're listening. Got a code coming your way, buddy. Immortal Unchained. That sounds real familiar, but I don't really know what that is.
Yeah, what is that?
Let's paste and let's search.
Oh, hey, that's okay. Okay, so we got some trailers, we got some gameplay. Woken up and released from your eternal prisons. Oh, man.
Kinda looks like Space God of War?
Space God of War? Oh. I mean, like, you don't have to sell me any harder than that. That's like as hard as you need to sell me.
God of Space?
God of Space War. Okay, God of cutscenes. Tell me, like, show me what it's actually looking like.
It doesn't look like anything. Oh. Oh dear. Wow, this looks a lot shittier than the trailer.
Yeah?
Holy shit.
Looks like garbage? But if it's really bad, okay, Paul, but if it's really bad, you know what we can do? We can write about it. just like another game that I'm going to be talking about next week on the site that is going to get the lowest score I've ever given a game.
I'm I'm assuming you can't talk about it right now.
The embargo date is the 13th, so I can't really drop any deets, but rest assured, it will be, yeah, it's not a good time. And, for a lot of reasons. And, yeah, you'll know, as will all humans on Earth, when it drops.
Will it be receiving COG's lowest score of all time?
No, I don't know if it's quite that bad, but definitely the lowest score I've ever given a game. I think. I'm like casting back in my mind, and I think previously the lowest I ever gave something was like 45, and we're gonna get below that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. 45 is not that hard to get down to in our new updated review score scale. Yeah.
But it's yeah. But you know, we'll leave that for another discussion. But
in any case, Spider-Man, Dragon Quest, Destiny DLC, if you like to punish yourself, those are the three you should be looking at this week.
Yeah, those are a big hot heavy hitters.
How are we doing? We're at about the 1 hour mark. Do you want to talk about some news, or should we just completely fuck up a perfect list?
I mean, unless there's some really amazing stuff happening in the world of the news. The Gato Roboto, I'm excited for.
Yeah.
Just because it's Metroid with cats. And I mean, why would you not love that? How could you not love that?
No, you will love that. Everyone will love that. And I do appreciate your news title, which says, guys, it's a cat Metroid game. Which perfectly sums up the news story.
Yeah. I really felt I had to grab people's attention because, dear God, it's a cat in a Metroid suit. Or a power suit, or whatever it's called. I guess it's not Metroid suit. That's silly. But yeah, I think a really fun / ridiculous news story is the one about Riot Games being like, oh yeah, how about for a couple of events, it's women and non-binary people only. Is that a big, bejeweled enough middle finger to all you Reddit commenters?
I read that and I had to shake my head because, one, I think that's kind of a stupid thing to do anyway, and two, did you fucking think that was gonna work?
I mean, what's the denouement to that story? Because the last time somebody from a games company called out a commenter or a fan in such a manner, they were all the way fired. Right? And like, is this asshole, is he like immune to that, or is the axe coming his way, or like what's the deal?
I think he may in fact be the firer, not someone who can be fired.
Well, because he's like, I think he's like the lead designer or something like that. So
pulling it up.
So he might be a little harder to kick, but
Daniel Klein.
Okay.
Called Reddit a toxic landfill and the League of Legends community man babies. Told someone on Twitter to fuck off and sea lion somewhere else.
I mean, okay, that's an amazing use of sea lion as a verb. Yeah. Thanks for that. Really, no matter what else happens, taking that away from this exchange makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah, put that shit directly on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, for sure.
As skills.
But systems designer, I don't know if that's above the reach of the axe. Like, you might have just... But, I mean, also, it's a dude, So probably in no danger of getting canned because life isn't fair.
True.
Period.
That is very true. Life is not fair.
Yeah. This guy or this representative of the company who's supposed to be like, oh, we're trying to reach out and be better people and do some events that target specifically the sort of people we want to include in our our world and our company and our audience. I mean, I get where they're coming from. I like the idea in theory, but the way they handled the backlash was not awesome.
Yeah, I think the intention behind the thing is totally fine. I think where they went wrong is specifically saying people who we are not targeting with this, you're not allowed. I think that's, if we're going for an egalitarian world, it should be everybody for all things if you feel like it. That's not the tone that they took with this event or whatever was going on. I don't really know what they were actually doing. Is this some kind of recruitment thing?
It's just a panel at PAX.
Oh.
There's like two PAX workshop panels. And but to say, oh, it's for women and non-binary people, does that indicate that previous PAX panels were exclusively for cis males? Like what?
Yeah.
Guys.
Oh boy.
Was there a no girls allowed sign outside of the fucking hall?
If the stories about Riot are true, there might have been.
Oh man.
There might have been.
Because that article that lovely lady from Kotaku posted recently, she's one of the ones on the site that I really like. Her name I can't pronounce properly, which is why I'm not saying it. But her and Gita Jackson, I'm like so super into all the stuff they do in the site. Because it seems like if what was in that article was to be believed, yeah, maybe there was something like that going on.
Wow. Well, the optimistic side of me wants to think that maybe Riot has learned something from ArenaNet and how they handled that whole situation and is handling this internally on the down low and saying, hey, Mr. Klein, perhaps you should not tell our users to fuck off and not call them a toxic landfill. That might hurt our bottom line.
Yeah. Also, here's a thought. If the allegations against Riot Games are true, and this kind of response suggests that they might be, perhaps where you want to include women and non-binary people is in your company, as opposed to in your panels. Because that appears to be where the actual toxic landfill was uncovered.
James, can we just make a pact to say that all people should be welcome in all places?
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Yeah, you know what?
It doesn't matter who you are. You know what your skin looks like or what your biological makeup happens to be. If everybody should be judged based on the content of their character and the content of what they can bring to the table. So let's just operate on that premise from now on.
That seems like a great plan.
All right, it's done. It has been ruled thusly via the power of the three-handed flail.
By the power of the three-handed flail, content to your character, not any other fucking thing.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and read through the rest of the news in like 10 seconds, just to say that we did.
Yeah. Okay.
Spider-Man getting some Black Cat DLC. Looks really cool.
All right.
Felicia Hardy is a badass. We did these two. Anthem story DLC is going to be free.
Heck yes.
That's really cool. Spider-Man also getting a photo mode, which looks like comic book goodness. Yeah, Twitch is getting some free games in September for Twitch Prime users. Awesome. Red Dead Redemption 2, they've got merch. And they have a really, really cool looking lighter that I really want really bad. So, if anybody from Rockstar is listening and you wanted to send us some lighters, we would definitely social media the shiznit out of that.
Oh yeah, coverage would occur.
And finally, I believe I wrote this a couple days ago, PS Plus continues to slay. Because, you get Destiny 2 for free, and God of War 3, and a bunch of other games. It's like 6 games this month. And
that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. Microsoft, if they want to continue the games with gold thing, I think they got to step it up pretty quick because, Forza Horizon 2, I think it was not cutting it. The 2 generations old Horizon game was not good enough last time around.
Yeah, they might want to amp it up.
You want to do a perfect list?
I can certainly make the attempt, although what if it's not perfect? What if it's just like, what if we like choke and it's just a list?
If that were to happen, and I'm not saying it would, because in true Press X the podcast fashion, this has been the best episode of all time.
True.
I believe we can do no wrong. I believe that in my heart.
That's a fair point. So, to that end, without further ado, let's talk about the best shopkeepers in video games.
Yeah, let's do it. Because I definitely wrote this down just before the cast and thought this would be a stupid list.
Oh, a stupidly perfect list. I already have the first one.
All right. Well, if you've got the list, you've got the mic and the floor.
Okay. So the first one I can think of for the 10 best shopkeepers in all of video games. In Secret of Mana, every time you go to a shop.
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
He does the little dance. He does the dance.
Yes.
Just it's just back and forth all the time, forever. Where does he get his energy? Why is it the same dude every time? You don't know. It's one of the mysteries of life, but there he is, the dancing fool, selling you candy and nuts and fairy powder and shit. It's awesome.
Yeah, Secret of Mana guy. That is an excellent pick. Excellent way to start off this list. And I kind of feel we have nowhere to go but down. But we're still going to make it perfect. It's going to be perfect.
Okay. What you got?
The first one I want to put on this list is the singing shopkeeper from Crypt of the Necrodancer. Are you aware of this man and this game?
I've never played it.
Okay.
Because I love rhythm games, and I love music, and I love wacky music, and I love indie games. But roguelites can eat a dick forever. And so I've kind of missed this one. But the good news is it's on sale about every 16 hours. So I have every opportunity to pick it up.
It is literally like 99 cents most of the time. And the runs in this roguelite, there's not a whole lot of investment. It's, a couple of minutes. So when you get a spare moment, just go ahead and YouTube up Crypt of the Necrodancer Shopkeeper. Because in Crypt of the Necrodancer, it's got a badass soundtrack. That's kind of the main thing with the game, and you're moving around in rhythm to the soundtrack. When you get within a certain radius of the shop in any given level, you start to hear the shopkeeper just wailing away to the tune of whatever the song is in the level. And it is fucking awesome. He is...
That sounds like...
Yeah.
That's like... You know what? If you lead with that in the trailers, in the write-up, in the fucking the meta text, where it's like, Crypt of the Necrodancer, instead of being like, do this and this, it should be like, the shopkeeper sings to the level music. Just tell me that right away. I would have immediately bought the game a year and a half ago.
Yeah, it is Mm. Oh, it's good. It is good. Yeah. Let's keep rolling. You got another one?
Okay. Sure. I don't know if this is not a specific shopkeeper, but in Elder Scrolls, there's the cat people,
Ooh.
the Khajiit,
Uh-huh.
and the one guy is always Khajiit has wares if you have coin. That guy.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because I don't even think that refers to a specific shopkeeper, but that is literally one of the most famous memes in like all of like Skyrim and everything else. Like it's like if you think of a shopkeeper in an Elder Scrolls game, you think of that guy. You don't even 100% know what he looks like. You're only like 60% sure it's a dude, but it's been reproduced and regurgitated in like 1,000 shit posts for like 4 or 5 years. Khajiit's wares if you have coin, and you're like that guy. Yes, Khajiit's wares because that's the quintessential Skyrim shopping experience in a nutshell, in like 7 words.
I mean, if I'm gonna get skooma from anybody, it's from that Khajiit. I'm gonna walk around in the wilds until I find that. I mean, I guess it's a guy. The dude and lady Khajiit kind of sound the same.
Yes, good point.
So, who are we to judge? Could be either. Could be anything. That's a really good pick. I like that one. I have one I want to say, but I'm not sure that he's actually a good shopkeeper and not just an extortionist.
Ooh, extortionist is even better. Who is it?
That's Tom motherfucking Nook, that son of a bitch, that bell extorting piece of shit.
Tom Nook.
Fuck this guy.
Okay, Starbomb made a rap song about him, and it's amazingly terrible.
I am gonna have to look that up. But
yeah, it's like Starbomb, Animal Crossing, and it's like a whole song from the perspective of Tom Nook, and he's like a gangster ass shopkeeper. It is. It's not good. It's amazing.
Man, you just paid off your house, and what does that son of a bitch do? But do something you did not ask for. I didn't want a second floor, Tom Nook. I didn't want to pay 15,000 bells to your dumb ass and take care of your stupid Timmy and Tommy. Fucking Tom Nook.
Yeah, he's basically a mafia boss with a storefront.
No mouth having son of a bitch. Fucking Tom
what
Nook.
a jerk.
All right, Tom Nook, he's on the list.
Okay. Yes. You know who we got to put on the list immediately after? Beetle of The Legend of Zelda. He's in many games, and he's always amazing.
Yeah, he's... I mean, I hesitate to say that The Legend of Zelda has any voiceover, really, but Beetle does.
Just the sound that he makes whenever he sees you is like,
Yeah.
Or like you bring like a beetle to him and he's like salivating, like clutching at it. You can see his stomach rumbling. He's so excited. He's like, just has to have this beetle. Yeah. And in Skyward Sword, he's in this amazingly stupid shop that you have to like use a slingshot to like shoot the rope down so you can like climb up to this floating shop. Like you're basically the guy's only customer because nobody else can reach it.
Yeah, that is a good pick. I like Beetle a lot. And I had to look up how to spell that because I thought it was with a T, but it's not. It's a D.
Nope.
It is a D. How about Owaka from Final Fantasy X? Do you remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
And he'd just kind of end up wherever you ended up, and it was always the same guy, and they kind of tried to explain it away in the text as though he's traveling, though he's always there before you and leaves after you.
I love it when shopkeepers do that, when they like just go wherever you go, and then it's just like somehow it's always the same dude, even though there is no reason for it to be the same dude, basically implying canonically that the all-powerful warriors in this world is your party and this fucking guy. Because he's the only other person who's been able to brave the same dangerous terrain and survive the same encounters as you.
Yeah, made it past whatever the boss was of the last area without having to kill it, possibly befriending it, possibly sneaking past, maybe killing it and bringing it back to life so that you could fight it again. And, then just waiting to sell you better shit than he sold you last time. Wow. This is deep. This is some good shit, James. This is good shit.
We are getting in to the incredible philosophical underpinnings behind the appearance of these fucking lunatics. Okay. Did the Mario games, well, not specifically the Mario RPGs, they never had any really great shopkeepers. I don't think they had any really good. Well, I mean, like,
if you wanted to lump the Toads into a group of mushroom-headed people, maybe
I would strike that from the list, because we're just getting this amorphous spotted blob, like some sort of like everyman that has like 30 faces and none of which I can distinguish from one another. That sounds like the worst or the scariest shopkeeper, but not the best.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Ooh, shit! Fallout 3. The lady in the one starting town. She's amazing.
Oh yes.
She sends you on all these quests, and she sells you all sorts of shit, and she's incredibly upbeat.
Moira.
Yes.
Yep.
Sends you up to get like irradiated and shot at and stabbed.
She has that little accent. You're like, whoa, that's too bad that you had that radiation. Let's get like you all healed up there.
It's like a Midwestern post-apocalyptic accent. It's amazing.
Yeah. Post-apocalyptic Minnesota. Arguably already post-apocalyptic.
Equally bleak.
All right. Moira from Fallout 3. Perfect. Oh, I have one. Did you ever play Metal Gear Solid 4?
No, but I have heard many stories.
Yes. The merchant in Metal Gear Solid 4, Drebin893, he's this kind of cool smoking dude who shows up in an APC wherever you happen to be in the true shopkeeper fashion that we've already discussed. However, he also has a monkey sidekick who generally lightens the mood and fucks around with Snake every time you run across this guy.
Wait, his name is Drebin, and he has a monkey sidekick?
Correct.
So like Frank Drebin of Police Squad.
Correct.
Like Leslie fucking Nielsen.
Yes.
Oh my god!
It's a thinly veiled reference.
That's amazing.
They don't act the same, but the monkey kind of makes up for it. It's definitely the comic relief in that game. But he's a pretty cool shopkeeper.
Nice. All right. Most of the RPGs I play, the shopkeepers are generally pretty boring, except for, the Secret of Mana guy who does his dance. I almost want to say the Mr. Saturns from Earthbound, but they have the same problem as the Toads because they're interchangeable. But the Mr. Saturn sells you peanut cheese bars, which, holy shit.
Go on.
I don't care if he's the same size, shape, and speech patterns as literally every other member of his little village. he sells you peanut cheese bars. This catapults him to at least the top 10 or 11 shopkeepers of all time.
You know what? I'm just going to put Mr. Saturn in there because they are, in fact, all named Mr. Saturn. It's not just a generic title like Toad.
Yeah, there's like Toads and Toadettes or Toadovskis, but these guys are all Mr. Saturn.
Yeah. And how about how they managed to get that hand-drawn writing style on a Super Nintendo?
That is really impressive.
That's maybe one of my most memorable moments of playing any video game is getting to the Mr. Saturns and reading that text and being like, what? What?
There's so many points in that game where it's like, oh yeah, it's just you're just playing an RPG. Also, you're taking drugs at a coffee shop and having a protracted hallucination about stealing a magic statue from somebody. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's very cool.
Yeah, totally normal stuff.
This is totally an aside, but why haven't they localized Mother 3?
I think Nintendo is the domineering older brother of the video games industry. So whenever you tell this person, this older brother, I really want this thing, they get immature and shitty and think, well, you want it, huh? Well, guess what? You can't have it. So when 100,000 people send them like letters like to Santa Claus in a miracle on fucking 34th Street or whatever, and they're like, please, please, please localize Mother 3 so we don't have to keep fucking stealing it just to play the game, you savages. And they just hear that and like they get that shitty older brother instinct kicks in, and suddenly they just want to do the opposite.
Well, I'll just play the fan translation. It's fine.
It's such a good game. Bring it over. It would be so good.
It really is. It's on par with Earthbound for sure. All right, Mr. Saturn. We need a 10th. Okay. You haven't played the Nier series, have you, or Nier Automata?
My roommate has espoused its wonders and its joys repeatedly. It's one of those games where he's like, if you don't play this all the way through, I'm going to have to strap you to a chair so that it can happen.
Right.
But no, I haven't.
So neither of those things have happened. Okay. Well, the shopkeeper in Nier is a disembodied head called Emil, and he's fantastic. You wanna shop with Emil, you have to catch him first, and then he kind of rolls his disembodied head around the map, singing loudly. So he's never in the same spot, but you can kind of hear him, so you can follow the noise to find the shop.
That's amazing.
Emil is pretty sweet. Yeah.
I think more shopping experiences in video games should be this bizarre, because restocking your items is so boring.
Yes, it is.
Do whatever you have to do to make it crazy. You know?
Yeah, and Emil has the good shit. He has that black market shit that you're looking for.
Oh, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
I want to hear about the black market goods, Emil.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the list. I think this is a pretty kick-ass list, James.
I think we pulled it off, man. We knocked this fucker out of the park. It's amazing.
So we got the dancing secret of mana guy, the singing shopkeeper from Crypt of the Necrodancer, the Khajiit who has wares, Tom motherfucking Nook, Beetle from the Zelda series, Owaka from Final Fantasy X, Moira from Fallout 3, Drebin893 and his monkey pal, any one of the Mr. Saturns, and Emil.
All right. It's a list.
Lock it
it's
in.
Been declared. All right.
Man, think somebody's got to turn this into a video. Got to make that happen.
Hey, yeah, we'll put that to the team.
Somebody will pick it up.
Possibly me.
I
I'm a member of that team.
I think this would be pretty fun to put together.
Yes, I think you're correct.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that's gonna do it. That is gonna do it for this episode of Press X the podcast, which has been episode number 30, the week of September 3rd, aka the week of Dragon Quest XI and Spider-Man. I was gonna say Spider-Man 3, but that's probably a good 10 years off.
Yeah.
Spider-Man
right.
2018.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2018.
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, you want to ask us something about Dragon Quest or Spider-Man or something else entirely, you can get at us on Facebook. Press X Podcast. It's a group. Get in there. Or you can email us, pressxpodcast@gmail.com, pressxpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can get at me on Twitter. I'm at YVR_Paul. I don't know if... Are you on Twitter, James?
Yes, I'm at James Paley.
Oh, wow. That's...
Yeah.
Wow. I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't know that. I'm sorry, James.
Well, I use it about once a month. It's fine.
Okay, perfect. So you can DM James too if you want to know something desperately about his pot smashing habits in Dragon Quest XI: Echoes of an Elusiveness.
Yes, there's a better than 30% chance I will actually see the message too.
That's about the same chance as finding something in one of the smashed items in Dragon Quest.
That's exactly correct.
Well, if you've made it this far, thank you very, very much for listening to us ramble on and on for an hour and a half. We've had a good time doing it.
Have a wonderful night, everybody. Good luck. Godspeed. Third inspiring thing.
Great. Let's leave it at that. See you later, everybody.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was unique.